People are up in arms about the fact that the President of the United States is calling for permanent banning and criminalizing of sex changes on children. This is actually a good thing. We need to talk about this. I'm Marcus Peter. So, President Donald Trump delivered his joint address to Congress Tuesday night, and he made a couple of statements pertaining to Congress and calling for Congress to pass bills permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children, and he essentially says forever. Now, these are some big claims. We're going to watch a clip about this.
A few years ago, January, Little John and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly, socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Now, some of the things that he stated that frankly, I'm actually rather happy that we're moving in a direction of sanity. I want to be very clear here. I'm not therefore saying Donald Trump is the paragon of sanity, nor is he the paragon of Christian Catholic biblical virtue. Not at all, not at all. But if we can acknowledge that these are particular stances that stand in congruence with the biblical, theological revelation that we know about the human person, and even if you don't want to be Christian, the natural law revelation about the human person, then we can applaud the fact that there is at least a small incremental step in the right direction. I want to quote something from the order Protecting Children from Chemical and Surgical Mutilation here. Across the country today, medical professionals are maiming and sterilizing a growing number of impressionable children under the radical and false claim that adults can change a child's sex through a series of irreversible medical interventions. That's key. We have been sold the lie that these chemical interventions are completely reversible, that these very powerful hormone blockers and puberty blockers are reversible. That is false. And in fact, more and more studies are coming out proving the fact that when you try to circumvent this very important and actually, frankly, very naturally powerful stage of a child's life in puberty, and you try to suppress that, well, nature's going to come back and bite back with a vengeance. And one of the ways is the way it kicks back, it's not natural. The way it kicks back is actually abnormal to compensate for the damage that's been done. And that's why, my friends, it is so crucial that we be careful about the people we elect into office, because things like this pertain to the morality of the human person and the dignity of male and female. The fact of the matter is, these issues pertaining to gender dysphoria have taken over our public sphere, and they are yet another way that we're seeing a deconstruction of objective truth in society. Mark Glendening, he wrote in a paper from the Institute of Economic Affairs, he actually argues the harms caused by gender ideology go much further because it also seeks to shut down free speech and to undermine basic science and even our understanding of reality. The fact is, up till about 5 minutes ago, that's an exaggeration to be sure, we always understood maleness and femaleness were not constructs. There's no such thing as the interior person doesn't correspond with the exterior reality. Soul and body make up the human person. God doesn't make mistakes in the maleness and femaleness of persons. Now, are there certain genetic aberrations in some individuals in small subsets of the culture? Sure. And even then, there are proper objective moralities that can be adhered to in that light. Girls claiming that they are born and they're supposed to be boys. Boys claiming that they're born and they're supposed to be girls. That's a mental issue. It's body dysmorphia that's now gender dysphoria. Change the name, call it what you will. They need help with psychological coping. And in fact, more and more studies are proving that if we allow people to undergo puberty and come into a natural fruition of their bodily reality and not just gender identity, the dysphoria tends to go away. Why? Because everyone from preteen to the teen years are awkward in their body. I don't know a single person who went through that stage and said, man, that was a breeze. Those are some really difficult years developmentally. And the worst thing we can do is to shove powerful drugs, hormone blockers, and surgical mutilations at children, so much so that we've impacted them with lifelong repercussions. So in all of this, where do we turn? Catechism 2393. This is the Catholic response. By creating the human being, man and woman, God gives personal dignity equally to the one and the other. Each of them, man and woman, should acknowledge and accept this sexual identity, and this is reality. In Dignitas Infinita, the document put out by the Vatican, actually highlights this. Any sex change intervention, as a rule, risks threatening the unique dignity the person has received from the moment of conception. Tell your children and tell everyone in your presence, your maleness and your femaleness are not accidental. They are intended plans by God. They form part of the divine image in your personhood. And therefore, this lie of gender ideology needs to die. It's a stain on the history of modern Western civilization that will go down as a shameful part of our heritage. But we can reverse the tide and regain sanity, because that is the Catholic response. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Marcus Peter.